Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going through my August reads and wrap up. So in August I've read 15 books so far. I'm actually going to say it's probably going to end up being 16 because I'm reading this and I'm loving it. So I'm pretty sure I'll be able to get it done in the next day and a half. So that would add another, I don't want to see any spoilers, but I'm just trying to look at the pages. Is there no page numbers? Oh. It would add another, It would add another 370 pages to my total for the month. So for the month of August, I read 15 and probably 16 books with a total pages of 5,531 books. So I did really good with the books. Definitely a bigger month for me. It's kind of fun. I love the Caught pile, which if you don't use it, check it out. I'll link it below. Because not only do you have a way to like decide what your star rating should be, but it also like keeps track of everything you read for the year. So like I can see the genres I've read, the ages, the formats I've read, and the star levels I've read. So yeah, it's interesting. Like I'm pretty split between audiobook and physical, and then low on the ebook, but because I do love me some good audiobooks. So what I do in this first video is give you those stats, and then I run through my 3 and 4 star reads. And then in the second part of the video, which will be on Saturday, I give you my favorites in the month. So I had a lot of 4-star reads. I don't even know if any of these were 3 stars. Now that I think about it, let's look. Oh yeah, there was a couple 3-star reads. So let's start with our 3-star reads. So the first 3-star read I had was Oasis. I had this one from Book of the Month a while ago. And luckily with the newts, I really worked hard in trying to get through my physical TBR. So I picked this one up. It was a neat idea. So it's like one of the girls and her friends are helping the girl's dad at a dig site, kind of outside Dubai. And a sandstorm comes up, they get lost and stranded, and they end up finding this oasis. That there's more to this oasis than they thought. They don't know what's real, what's not real, if it's maybe controlling them. So interesting premise. I just think that it wasn't executed fully, but this is a debut novel, so I'm excited to see what Katya does more of. But definitely it was an enjoyable, easy read. My next 3-star was The Siren by Sierra Cass. I picked this one up for the Scallywag-a-thon, because I was supposed to read one with mermaids or sirens, and I was originally going to read Mermaid Moon, and it just was not in the cards for me. So I just kind of cruised through my script to see what I could find, and I found The Siren. And it was interesting. So it had both the perspective of 4 girls, I think, that were sirens. So essentially the ocean kind of chose them instead of having them die. And then their job was then to be sirens at shipwrecks and whatnot. And then the ocean also was a perspective. And you know, she cared for these girls, but also she needed these people to die so that the ocean could keep surviving. I don't know, it was interesting. What I found I struggled with for the star rating was insta-love. So the main character in the book meets a guy, because they kind of move all over but stay closer to the sea normally, and she meets a guy one day and like is madly in love with him. And they can't really talk or anything. I don't know. It was a good, easy read to add to the readathon, but it definitely was like too much insta-love for my like. It's definitely not one of my favorite tropes. And then I had a ton of 4-star reads. So let's just start going through those. Let's pull it up. So the first was 100,000 Kingdoms that I read for one of my book clubs. And this is N.K. Jemisin's debut novel, and it was really interesting. It was kind of hard at times to figure out exactly what was going on. I had a physical copy of this one from the library, and so essentially a girl kind of gets summoned after her mother dies or is killed, and she's kind of now in the running to run this country because she is an heir of the king, even though she doesn't want it. And on top of that, there is these gods that used to be in charge but are now imprisoned. I really don't know how to explain it, but it was interesting. I think I maybe will continue with the series to see where it goes. Some of the major criticisms that we had as a group with it is, for being such a strong woman, she really didn't protect her own body well. And so we really struggled with that part of the book, but other than that, I think the general consensus is that we all liked it. The next one is The next one is Little Women. I finally got around to reading this, and actually I mostly listened to the audiobook, and I dearly enjoyed it so much. And it was so much fun to finish reading it and watch the new film back to back. So it's just such a precious read, and it's amazing how much literature can just transcend time. I really liked all of the sisters. Jo obviously was my favorite. I really feel like Beth just got the stick in life, man. But other than that, it was so good. And I love and adored the movie and cannot wait to watch it again. So I'm so glad that the Newts forced me to finally read this, because I really enjoyed it. The next one is The Sundown Motel. And this is kind of a paranormal, but also a like whodunit story. So it was really interesting. There's two timelines, one in the 1980s and one currently. The 1980s is a girl named Viv who went away from her family, starts working at this creepy motel, starts getting really invested into learning about why all these girls in the town have died and like who did it, and then mysteriously disappears. Her niece, who has never met her, gets really interested in true crime in her case, ends up kind of following in her footsteps, and then also getting on to the fact that all these girls were killed and who did it and whatnot. So really interesting. Thought it was cool. I really like the ghost aspect of it. I haven't really read a lot of ghost books, so definitely enjoyed that. The next one I read was Dead Mountain, and this is a true story of the Dyatlov. I need to really look that up better, but pass. So essentially these 9 hikers went into the mountains to go hiking. They were all very avid hikers in January, and they did not survive. And it has been this huge mystery for 50 years about what happened to them. There's lots of theories, you know, government is hiding something, aliens, a murderer, like a firestorm in the sky, like very interesting things. So I really enjoyed it. I read about half of it and listened to the rest of it. I thought the writer did a really good job. He gives his perspective during his research period, and then he also like states kind of what would be happening, because they had super good notes and photos and journals and stuff. So they really had a good idea of what happened like up into that point. So very interesting. I think, oh, okay. And then the next 4-star I read was The Vanishing Half. This is also like 2 parallel storylines, 2 sisters, twin sisters, that after high school they kind of just ran away from home, and then they ended up separating. And one of them lived a very typical, and the other one actually lived as a white woman, like passed as a white woman. And so it was just like the differences in their lives and just the acceptance and the racial or the racism, like not only within the world itself, but like the Black community. And it was very interesting. I really liked it. Thought it was really well done, and I'm definitely excited to read more by Brit Bennett. Let's see what else is on my list. The next one I read was The School for Good and Evil, and I read this for a Touch of Whimsy's book club for a month. And I thought it was really a fun idea. So essentially, like, this town knows that like, once a year kids are kidnapped and brought to this school. A lot of the people think it's not necessarily true, or they just don't know what to think about it. But there's this girl that's actively like, this is happening, I'm going to the school for good, I'm going to be a princess, all that jazz. But she's very self-centered, and she only does things because that's her goal. So she's only good because she thinks that that's the way she's getting into school. She's also befriended a girl who is not the prettiest, darker, not always happy, but is super kind and loving and cares for her family and her town. So it ends up both of these girls get taken to the school for good and evil, but it doesn't work out the way that the princess girl wants, and they ended up getting switched because really the school could see what her true intentions were. So I really enjoyed it. It definitely is a series, so I want to continue with that. I think there's quite a few though, so I'm a little, you know, like I get a little overwhelmed knowing like if I start this book, there's 6 other books in the series, but we'll make it through. The next one I listened to was Hood Feminism, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great perspective that I, did not have. One of the things that I just never even thought about is a lot of white women who are fighting for feminism are only fighting for white feminism. And they don't even justify the racial profiling and the systematic racism that is just that infects the Black community. And I was so blown away by the stat she had and how just being a Black woman really makes you viewed certain ways, even though none of that is true. So really interesting book, very educational. Definitely enjoyed it. It talked a lot about like being in a food desert or just really not having enough money for food, the need for food stamps and welfare, and like what that actually means for a family, and not really understanding that perspective. That was so interesting to me. The next one is Boyfriend Material. I had this one through my Libro ALC program. So essentially every month they give a bunch of audiobooks to influencers to listen to and share about them, and Boyfriend Material was so cute. I really enjoyed it. At first I was like, is this funny or just really awful? Because essentially the main character needs to find a respectable boyfriend or he's going to lose his job at a charity for like dung beetles. Come to find out, it is a hilarious book, but it was super heartwarming and loving too, so I really enjoyed it. I thought it was such a fun read. I think if you liked Red, White, and Royal Blue, you would definitely like this. The writing styles and the storyline were, very similar. Well, not very similar, but similar. The next one I did was The Extremely Inconvenient Adventures of Bronte Meadowstone. This was a super fun middle grade. So Bronte's parents give her a will, in their will, that she is required to go visit all of her aunts, which there's like a ton of them, like 11, and bring them a small trinket of some sort. And she's also required to travel alone and stay there for a certain amount of days and do certain things like go eat in this restaurant or go see this place. So very interesting. There's obviously an underlying mystery in there and things she needs to figure out. So it was a super fun adventure and so funny. So really enjoyed that one. I ran downstairs to check on the banana bread and remembered that I finished Bloom last night and forgot to add this to my totals. So Bloom is essentially about Ari, who works at his family bakery but wants to be an aspiring musician and leave, and Hector, who has recently lost his grandma and came back to her house, kind of help clean it out, and also loves to bake. So obviously these two meet and romance ensues. So very cute. I really enjoyed it. It was a super fast read, but the art style was just so cool. Like I loved these larger spreads with like the flowers in and stuff. Very, very cute. And then I read The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. This one was on my list for a long time, but definitely enjoyed it. It was a good thriller. There was some possible paranormal aspects to it, and then definitely some twists and turns at the end. But the smart house aspect of it, where this nanny comes in and she literally does not know the kids, and the mom is like, peace out, I have to go on business. Here are my children, take care of them in my smart house. So it was very, very interesting. Weird things kept happening. She couldn't figure out why. She thought she was losing her mind, but very fun thriller. And then The Jumbies was another one I listened to for middle grade monthly. And it was a very like Bayou, New Orleans feel to it, like deep in the bayou. I don't know another word for that. But essentially there is these Jumbies who own the forest, but you have to stay out or they're going to get you. But then come to find out that one of the girls may be more involved with the Jumbie than she knows. And it's kind of a battle for the environment and for her family and her friendship, and it was just a very interesting read. I loved the acknowledgements and like the explanation from the author. So I almost would say like maybe read that first. I don't remember if there's spoilers, but I thought that gave such a cool aspect to the rest of the story. And then the final one I listened to was Sex and Vanity by Kevin Kwan. I loved the Crazy Rich Asians series, and so I was super excited to get my hands on this. I was so excited when it came in early from my library. I actually listened to it during Summerween because I couldn't wait, but it was so good. Same vibes, you know, the rich, crazy lifestyles, and a romance. The one thing I've decided that Kevin Kwan is not very good at is like steamier scenes or sexier scenes, because they just felt so abrasive to me. I just like I don't think it intended to be rough, but they just felt like rough, like just mashed together, and I was like, what happened? But other than that, I really enjoyed the book. If you enjoyed the Crazy Rich Asians, that's really hard to say, then definitely go ahead and take those. But yeah, so those are all of my reads for the month. I definitely am excited to get back into Winter House Tonight. It's so funny because there is a couple references in here to books that I'm planning on reading in September, so very excited for that. So I had a super good reading month for August. I had so much fun with both the Scallywag-a-thon and the Summerween on top of my Newts. It definitely kept the month going, and I'm excited for fall and all that will bring. So make sure to come back on Saturday and check out my favorites for the month. I would love it if you stick around and subscribe and become part of the Priory. Remember to always be kinder than necessary, and I will see you in the next video.